The Godfather of American hedge funds warns of U.S.-China conflict risk. Local CCP governments begin purchasing existing housing stock. Vanke signs up to join. China's epidemic continues to spread. Citizens reveal the current situation in funeral homes. Officials killed by citizens in China. CCP suppresses information to prevent imitation. Jiang Zemin's eldest son Jiang Mianheng demoted ahead of the CCP's third plenum. It's all covered in today's China Truths. The Godfather of American hedge funds warns of U.S.-China conflict risk. On June 5, Ray Dalio, the founder of Bridgewater Fund, the world's largest hedge fund, spoke at the Greenwich Economic Forum, GEF Forum, in Hong Kong, stating that the U.S. election is the highlight of this year. Despite the stark differences in policies between Trump and Biden, they share a broad consensus in opposing the CCP. Dalio, known as the Godfather of American hedge funds and referred to as the Steve Jobs of investing, is a legendary figure on Wall Street. Dalio mentioned that economic sanctions against the CCP by the U.S. are highly probable, which would impact the entire world. He believes that the world is entering a period of greater risk against the backdrop of massive debt, unprecedented internal conflicts in developed countries, and major power conflicts. Additionally, there are natural disasters, pandemics, and the largest-scale industrial revolution driven by artificial intelligence, which costs about 8% of the global GDP annually to contain. In the face of these uncertainties, effective diversification of investments across countries, currencies, and asset classes is necessary. Dalio thinks that historically, economic wars have always preceded military conflicts. Although it is unlikely that a military conflict will occur immediately in the Taiwan Strait, the One China policy will not last forever, raising concerns among international investors who are assessing whether their investments could be harmed by actions taken by their own governments. Dalio stated that U.S. government policies would affect American investors investing in China, with concerns that the CCP might make it challenging. Dalio noted that these concerns were reflected in the declines in Hong Kong and mainland stock markets earlier this year. While he will continue to invest in both the U.S. and China, he calls for attention to neutral countries such as Southeast Asia, India, and even the Middle East. In wars, neutral countries often perform better than the victorious countries. The key is to focus on the quantity when diversifying investments. As Dalio called for attention to countries like those in Southeast Asia, the region is becoming a new market to replace China, sparking a battle for dominance. On May 1, Microsoft announced investments of $1.7 billion in Indonesia and $2.2 billion in Malaysia to build AI infrastructure. A month later, Google announced plans to build its first data center and cloud facilities in Malaysia, with an investment of $2 billion. In early May, Amazon announced it would invest approximately $9 billion by 2028 to expand a data center in Singapore. Currently, the battle for tech supremacy between the U.S. and China is intensifying, with large American tech companies finding it increasingly difficult to operate in China, necessitating new markets that could replace China. Jonathan Ayal, Associate Director of the Royal United Services Institute, stated that the CCP is continuously and extensively buying gold, prioritizing this political project as they realize that confrontation with the U.S. is imminent. Local CCP governments begin purchasing existing housing stock. Vanke signs up to join. On May 30, the Xintang town of Xingqing district in Guangzhou issued the announcement on the collection of eligible commercial housing for the Guangzhou, Xintang, to Shanwei Railway Project, Xintang section, mentioning the plan to purchase commercialized market houses as resettlement housing for the project and calling for the registration of eligible residential properties. On the morning of June 3, Jinmao Vanke Metropolis Four Seasons told China Real Estate News that they had registered. The purchase price announced by the government is the cost price, and the current selling price of our project is already below the cost price, so selling to the government at cost price is of course the best. The aforementioned private housing enterprise also mentioned that the initial land acquisition cost of the project was over 7,000 yuan, about $966, per square meter, while the current selling price is only 10,000 yuan, about $1,400, per square meter, which has already fallen below the cost price. The so-called cost price, or transaction price, is land cost plus construction and installation cost, according to the announcement. According to previous reports by some media, the total of land cost and construction and installation cost is about 50% of the selling price of the buildings. In other words, the selling prices in the Chinese real estate market have already been halved. Before Guangzhou, since May, major cities such as Hangzhou and Chongqing have also announced the purchase of a batch of commercial residential housing to be used as public rental housing. The Chinese real estate market is sluggish, with unfinished buildings or vacant houses everywhere across the country. On May 17, the Central Bank of the CCP announced the establishment of a 300 billion yuan, about $42 billion, protective housing reloan, allowing local governments to use bank loans to purchase these unsold and unwanted houses and then transform them into affordable housing for sale to low-income households to address the issue of housing oversupply. However, most observers believe that compared to the quantity of existing housing in China, this amount of money is not sufficient. Chen Shujin, the head of China Financial and Real Estate Research at Jefferies Financial Group, believes that at least 2 trillion yuan, approximately $280 billion, is needed to digest the excess and unsold housing. Wang Guochen, an assistant researcher at the First Research Institute of the Chinese Academy of Economic Research, believes that nearly 10 trillion yuan, approximately $1.4 trillion, would be needed to purchase the excess new homes. The budget is based on the debt calculations of the top 50 Chinese developers before the 2019 Three Red Lines. Qin Weiping, a Chinese economist living in the U.S. and author of China's Great Escape from Crisis, told Voice of America in an interview that he had already envisioned the current situation when he wrote the book 7 years ago. He told Voice of America that China has only this path to follow, but what can be achieved is questionable. Based on his understanding of the CCP government's execution capabilities, it is quite difficult to truly implement it. He said, "What is the ultimate result? It's the local or central government taking advantage of the situation." Qin Weiping also believes that by purchasing inventory housing, the CCP can play some role in avoiding large-scale social unrest, especially by providing social security housing for the low-income stratum, which can win some people's hearts. This is also a kind of indirect stability maintenance measure. China's epidemic continues to spread. Citizens reveal the current situation in funeral homes. The epidemic in China continues to spread, and people from various regions report an increase in patients with strokes, heart attacks, and lung cancer, with continual sudden deaths. Additionally, citizens have noted a significant increase in the number of corpses in funeral homes. Recently, a netizen posted, "So many fathers have died of heart attacks in the past 2 years," sparking resonance among netizens, many of whom commented that their relatives also died of heart attacks, mostly in their 40s and 50s. Numerous posts also mention fathers and mothers dying from strokes. There are even cases of young individuals in their 20s suffering from strokes or heart attacks. Mr. Chai, a villager from Beijing, told NTD on June 4 that there have been consecutive deaths in his village, with recent sudden deaths including 2 individuals in their 30s and 1 in their 50s. Mr. Chai said, "There are many more strokes and heart attacks than in previous years. In the last 1 or 2 months in our village, people ranging from their 30s to their 70s have died from heart and brain strokes. They were in very good health and then suddenly passed away. There have been 3 or 4 deaths from lung cancer in our village. The funeral home is doing much better business than in previous years, perhaps double that of last year." Mr. Wang from Xinjiang stated that there are frequent reports of people having fevers and colds, followed by sudden deaths among the young and middle-aged. He said, "Many people go to the hospital with colds, and then a few days later, they are gone. Mostly they are middle-aged, with young people too, in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. It's up to each individual to decide what kind of suffering to endure, and this topic is quite sensitive, so people generally don't discuss it with each other. Citizens from various regions have also reported an increase in sudden deaths among the middle-aged and elderly this year, most of whom are atheists brainwashed by the CCP. Ms. Wang, a Beijing citizen, many elderly people are passing away. They suffer from heart attacks, strokes, and suddenly develop lung cancer, despite being in good health ordinarily. I suspect it's related to the vaccine. There are few with religious beliefs in China, and the information they have access to is limited. I heard that this period is a time for elimination. Mr. Liu, a resident of Jiamusi, Heilongjiang, there's an increase in heart diseases and cancer, particularly among those in their 40s and 50s. They have no underlying illnesses, just sudden strokes and heart attacks. Those who don't die end up paralyzed or partially paralyzed. The deceased are all elderly, definitely brainwashed, just following the crowd. Officials killed by citizens in China, CCP suppresses information to prevent imitation. On June 3, a major criminal case occurred in Qin County, Changji City, Shaanxi Province, resulting in death. The Qin County Public Security Bureau stated that in Mianheng, a 59-year-old resident of 232, Qinzhou South Road, Dingchang Town, Qin County, Shaanxi Province, was a major suspect and arrested. It has been confirmed that the suspect, in Mianheng, used a knife to stab the 58-year-old Guo Jianyu to death. Criminal coercive measures have now been taken against in Mianheng. The case is under further investigation. The police report also showed that in Mianheng and Guo Jianyu were both from Dingchang Town in Qin County. The announcement did not specify the exact identity of the victim, only stating that the victim was a public official. However, according to a report by the Red Star News on June 5, the victim Guo Jianyu was the chairman of the Qin County Political Consultative Conference. The Tsingtao Daily quoted sources saying that the incident was related to a demolition years ago. During his tenure as a township leader, Guo Jianyu had accumulated grievances within Mianheng. A resident of the county told the Epoch Times on the 5th that the suspect must have been unable to tolerate any longer. The resident explained. Guo was originally going to give someone 1 million yuan, about $140,000, for demolition compensation, then he said 800,000 yuan, around $110,000, and ended up giving only 80,000 yuan, approximately $11,000, and that was last year's matter, which nobody has taken care of. Public records show that Guo Jianyu was born in October 1966. From April 2006 to May 2011, he served as the party secretary and mayor of Dingchang Town, Qin County. On April 10 of this year, Guo Jianyu also chaired the 4th meeting of the 15th Qin County Committee of the Political Consultative Conference. Some observers believe that, compared to lower-level mutual harm and vengeful incidents in society, this event may become a significant social signal in China. The social media account Laoman Channel said, "Things are progressing quickly, and it has now developed to the stage of murdering grassroots officials." Potential perpetrators will summarize their experiences in these social incidents, improving their level of committing crimes. High-level lone wolves emerging in batches are almost upon us. Former Chinese media person Zhao Lanjian believes this shows that important CCP officials have reached a stage where their lives are not guaranteed. He posted on social media X, saying, "This stabbed chairman of the County Political Consultative Conference is the second CCP official to be killed during his term, following Li Xian, the director of the Public Security Bureau of Hejian City, Hebei Province." On June 1 this year, a deputy director of a police station in Wuhan, Qiu Jianjun, was stabbed 15 times and eventually died from his injuries. Zhao Lanjian also predicted that this news might subsequently be censored by the CCP. He said, "Killing officials, stabbing officials, is continuously happening across China." The news of the assassination of a sitting chairman of the Political Consultative Committee, leaking through the tight internet controls, will soon be censored across the web. This is because of fears of imitation elsewhere. Jiang Zemin's eldest son Jiang Mianheng demoted ahead of the CCP's 3rd plenum. On June 5, the official website of Shanghai Tech University announced that a cadre meeting was held recently. With the approval and agreement of the Shanghai Municipality and the Chinese Academy of Sciences, Jiang Mianheng was relieved of his duties as president of Shanghai Tech University and appointed as the chairman of the University Affairs Committee. The position of president was taken over by Feng Donglai, an academician of the Chinese Academy of Sciences. The demotion of Jiang Zemin's son, Jiang Mianheng, at a sensitive time before the third plenum of the CCP, releases uncertain political signals and has sparked speculation. Yuan Hongbing, a legal scholar residing in Australia, recently told the overseas Chinese website Vision Times that the CCP's 20th third plenum, delayed by half a year, is scheduled for July because the CCP leader Xi Jinping made a decision regarding a so-called major political choice. He stated that this major political choice involves whether the authorities will publicly criticize Jiang Zemin's capitalist restoration line at the third plenum and establish Xi Jinping's historical status of having saved the party, the country, and the military under the name of a plenum resolution. Yuan revealed that there is controversy over this issue within Xi's camp. Supporters like Kai Chi, Shi Taifeng, Li Shilei, and Wang Xiaohong, members of the CCP Central Secretariat, advocate first using this to establish Xi Jinping's wise leadership, thereby accumulating sufficient political authority to address the Taiwan issue. Opponents include Li Chang, Li Shi, Zhao Leji, Wang Huning, and Ding Xuexiang, most of the Politburo Standing Committee members, who believe that the current trend of Taiwan's internationalization is increasingly dangerous. They argue that the focus should first be on primarily using military action to resolve the Taiwan issue, and then on initiating a party-wide purge of Jiang Zemin's and even Deng Xiaoping's lines. Yuan said that, from what it seems now, although Xi Jinping emotionally leans towards the view of his favorite aide Kai Chi, he ultimately accepted the opposing opinions, which is why the third plenum is able to proceed.
Don't forget to comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. If you find the information helpful, please share this video with a friend to watch together. This will be a great source of motivation for our team to produce more and more quality and reliable videos. And also don't forget to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths. Thank you for tuning in.